Welcome to Merkaba Chakras, where we talk Buddhism in the fifth dimension.
Welcome to another episode of Merkaba Chakras. I'm your host, Von Galt, and today we are going to do an extension episode of the previous one with Debbie Solaris, who is a Galactic Akashic Records reader. And she's going to do a session on me to see what my Galactic Akashic Record reading is. So with further ado, Debbie, you have the platform, and
Okay,
let's go down the rabbit hole. What's behind?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, ding, 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 ding. Well, anyway, usually with these Akashic readings, I always ask for full name, your full legal name and birth date, and then we usually like to clear the space. I do a divine heart triangle, so I'll connect my heart chakra with the client, and then I'll connect with source energy, because we want to keep those vibrations really high. And then I do a little bit of a space clearing, and then I do the pathway prayer, which is the traditional way of accessing the records. So today I'm going to be doing Vaughn's Akashic Records reading today. So I'll be using her name and birth date, and then we'll be accessing her records. My style is probably a little bit different than what you see with other Akashic readers that just go into Earth history. I like to go way into the galactic history. So we're going to be talking about some galactic history along the way, but it's going to be all good, and it's all going to pertain to Vaughn and who she is today. So without I guess without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get started.
Yes, and can I ask questions too?
Oh
As
yeah,
you do it? Okay.
absolutely, yeah. Usually with even my regular readings, I always let my clients know that I'll be channeling a lot of information, but if you have a question, or this is your reading, so I want you to get your questions answered. So
Right.
absolutely, yeah.
Right. And you guys, she has an online courses, and she'll be teaching how to do this in her courses that she's developing.
Mhm.
So this is going to be a preview if you go into her courses and do this in what your client sessions may be as well. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm going to record on my end too. So let me do that. Okay, today is Friday, February 26, 2021. And today I'm doing an Akashic reading for Von Pet Galt in Seattle, Washington. Only the highest vibrations of love and light can be in the space, and all objects in the space, for the highest good of Von Pet Galt and myself. For this reading today, all other energies must leave now. I call in the highest level of the divine that knows that love is the power and the truth from which we read, the highest level guides and angels of Von Pet Galt and myself to help us with this reading. Archangel Michael, hold this space for us, and so it is. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth, as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God, help me to know Von Pet Galt in the light of the Akashic Records, to see Von Pet Galt through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones have for Von Pet Galt. Okay, the records are now open. Okay, so I think in the last session we established that your origination was Arcturus. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about Arcturus and why it's so significant, why it's, this, special star system that it is, and how this influences you. Okay. So you're from the same star system I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's probably why you felt a connection with me. I don't know. But anyway, Arcturus, in when the galaxy was being formed, when Source decided that it was time for our galaxy to experience the separation from Source, this splitting off into different oversoul groups and then different soul families. Um, when this Milky Way galaxy was being created, Milky Way was actually birthed from the Andromeda galaxy. So the Andromeda galaxy is actually the mother galaxy. And the Andromeda galaxy is not the same as Andromeda constellation. There is a difference. They're two different locations. Andromeda galaxy is the galaxy that's 2 million light years away. Okay. But anyway, when Milky Way was birthed from the Andromeda galaxy, when the Milky Way was being formed, there was various oversoul groups that were also being formed along with it. One of these oversoul groups was the Arcturus soul group. Okay, Arcturus soul group went through a much more. It's a different consciousness and it's a different level of spiritual evolution. So because we were set aside to be kind of like the overseers and the watchers of this descent into physicality, we had to become evolved really rapidly. So Arcturians, we usually tend to pick up on things very rapidly. We pick up on things really fast. If we become awakened, it's like an onslaught of information that just kind of processes through. We don't go through 20 or 30-year spiritual paths. Okay. Usually for us, it's really rapid. And that's how it was like in the beginning when this galaxy was being formed. Arcturus was the place where there was advanced evolution in the fields of technology, spirituality, and also psychology. Okay. Arcturians, we tend to be a little bit more, I don't know, expansive mindedness when it comes to working in whatever kind of work that we do, whether it be, healing or spirituality or technology. We have the ability to see the bigger picture. Okay. And I think that's because of the purpose of Arcturus. Arcturus was set aside to be a stargate. So Arcturus is one of the two major stargates in our galaxy. There's many stargates, okay, but we're talking about the two biggest ones here. And Arcturus Stargate is the Stargate of Souls. So J.J. Hurtak, who wrote the book The Keys of Enoch, talks about Arcturus is a place where they prepare souls to have a physical reality. Okay. So there's a lot of soul processing that occurs in between lives with the soul. And I know that Vaughn here is she's a life planner. She helps people process through aspects of their lives. And she's also your hypnosis. You do QHHT or something similar, right?
Yeah, QHC, BQH, and a lot of different other modalities as well.
Modalities, yeah. So these are all psycho-spiritual level modalities. In Arcturians, we are masters at the psycho-spiritual. Okay. Syrians, on the other hand, they're masters of physical healing. Arcturians, we do the psycho-spiritual healing really well. When we're processing souls, so it's kind of like there's a Stargate in Arcturus, and when a soul passes away, it needs to go someplace to kind of go through their life review, to kind
Mhm.
of go through maybe assessing what they did well in that last life, what maybe they could have worked on. And they do this with the assistance of their higher beings and also with the Arcturian guides. Okay. Now, both Vaughn and I work the Stargate. So in the work that Vaughn does, she's able, you're able to access the Akashic records because you had to, you
Mhm.
had to be able to access that information to help these souls to process through their in between life processing. So you worked the Stargate for a while. I think we all did. All of us Arcturians. In Arcturus, there's no competition. Nobody's better than the other. Okay,
Mhm.
that's like something that Arcturians pride themselves in. Is this no competition thing? So we all got cross trained in the same skills.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, obviously, there'll be some areas that we're better at than others. I think that's just the way sentient beings are. It's the
Mhm.
way we're all kind of, but we all got trained. So we all got cross trained in different areas.
So
So
no one's eager to outshine somebody else and get more responsibilities.
no,
Yeah.
I think it was kind of like that was kind of frowned upon actually. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, we really don't want to bring attention to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
Arcturians, when we get here on Earth, we're kind of like, oh yeah, now I get to have some attention, so now I get to shine, I get to have all these experiences that I couldn't have in Arcturus because they're higher consciousness there.
Mm.
And this applies to food, to sex, to just having, different human type experiences.
Mm.
We kind of go overboard sometimes for a while, when we're,
Uh.
yeah. And we're like, oh, wow, I get to eat this tasty food and I get to have sex with different people. And I think some of us rein it in after a while, but I
Mm.
think kind of what happens is because on Arcturus, Arcturians don't eat. They ingest kind of a light energy.
I am
Um,
a foodie.
yeah, no, me too. I love
I'm a
food.
foodie.
Yeah, I know. I love food. It's like I have to really watch my diet now, but I still like to make it. I still make food,
Mhm.
but
Mhm. I
I like to
love those
try
food
different.
travel shows. My
Oh
favorite.
yeah, oh yeah. I love the Food Channel. Yeah. So yeah, and actually it's kind of interesting. I've done a lot of these readings, and some of my Arcturian starseeds are actually excellent chefs.
Mm. Mhm.
I have one who's written several cookbooks. It's kind of like when we get an interest in something, we really pour ourselves into it.
Yeah, you can eat the love.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, yeah. And she was I think she wrote several vegan cookbooks and
Mm.
yeah, so she was really quite accomplished in that area. But and then I have others that are really good mechanics, and they really are very good mechanics.
Mhm.
So so it doesn't matter what we do, we'll do it really well.
Yeah.
I'm kind of digressing a little bit, getting back to the Stargate because this is the important part.
Yeah.
Um, you learn to do the work that you did in Arcturus. So the work that you do now in this lifetime is very similar to the work that you did when you were processing souls through the Stargate.
Mm.
Now, there are some souls that are so badly damaged, and this happened a lot after the Lyran Wars. So we got some souls that were so badly damaged that they weren't ready for reincarnation. They needed a while to heal.
Mm.
So the Arcturians created crystal healing temples all throughout their planets. They did have several planets that revolved around Arcturus. These crystal healing temples would contain crystal healing pods that we would place the soul in, and we would use frequency to help to heal them to the point where they felt like they were strong enough to have another incarnation. Okay. And so this was another one of those Arcturian jobs that a lot of us was trained in. So many Arcturians, we're very excellent frequency workers. You know, we know how to work with frequency. Another thing that Arcturians did very well was technology. It was very important for Arcturians to ramp up and upgrade their technology very rapidly because we had to be the guardians of the galaxy. I know that's a movie title, but it is the best thing I can use to describe what Arcturians did. Okay, we were, and even Arcturus itself, the name Arcturus comes from the Greek and it means bear guardian. So,
So we're like the caretakers of the guardian of,
yeah,
of the
we're
garden.
the caretakers of the galaxy.
Caretakers
Like
of the garden.
yeah, we're the caretakers. Yeah, we definitely are. Yeah,
I get a lot of
kinda
farmer
own-
clients.
Yeah, farmer clients. Well, yeah, garden. Yeah. So yeah, no, that's what we did. I mean, that's what we were. So we were, when we were born in Arcturus, we already knew that we weren't going to stay in Arcturus. You know, we already knew that at some point we're going to get kicked out of the nest and have to go help out some other star system. Okay. Now, and how this relates to you is a lot of us Arcturians also went through the ambassadorial training. This is to prepare us to do work with other systems, to understand other cultures, other realities, that sort of thing. So, so you, after you went through let me back up a little bit. The ambassadorial training taught lessons in language, counseling, psychology, mediation, and communication. Okay, so so after you went through the training, you ended up getting your first assignment. Okay. Now, I think with you, your assignment was not the typical star systems that most of us Arcturians were sent to. You ended up going to Cassiopeia. So I'm seeing Cassiopeia. And then I see Pegasus. Interesting. I don't know much about Pegasus. I'm going to find out though, I think. And then eventually Andromeda. Okay, so
blue people.
Yeah, blue people. Yeah, and cat people, because Cassiopeians are cat people. So so you got some cat people in there too. I think Cassiopeia, so this kind of happened like after the wars. Okay, so after Lyra got destroyed and all these Lyran ships and Vega ships were dispersing out into the galaxy, you at that point decided, I need to help these refugees. You know, what's the best way for me to help these refugees? And there was a way station that was created in the Cassiopeian system. Okay. Now, Cassiopeia is a really interesting looking constellation. It looks like an upside down W or an M. Okay. It's kind of a zigzaggy little shape. And it wasn't really a physical reality. It was more like it was created to be a holographic reality that was supposed to be only temporary. So the Cassiopeian beings were higher dimensional beings from the galactic center that took on cat humanoid form in order to look familiar to the Lyrans, you know, because these cat people, because, you know, Lyrans were used to being around cat people. I mean, they had cat people in Lyra. So for them, the cat form was a very friendly form. Would have been different if they decided, oh, let's look like lizards. And then it would be like, oh, no, we don't want to work with these people, you know? So, so you didn't incarnate as a Cassiopeian being, but you were there in Arcturian form, in a lower dimensional Arcturian form, assisting them in setting up this way station. Okay. Because you knew that a lot of these Lyran and Vega refugees were going to need healing. I mean, they're going to need psychological healing and also physical healing. So you ended up setting up helping them set up this way station, and maybe even training these beings how to work with frequency to heal. And they were quite advanced. I mean, they were able to channel in these frequencies. And I don't know why I'm picking this up, but some of these cat beings were incarnated ancient Andromeda galaxy beings that happened to be here in this galaxy. And because they were masters at frequency, they wanted to be a part of this, of supporting the refugees. So and they took on this cat-like form. It was a very stylized cat form. It's kind of hard to describe, but they look almost crystalline.
Okay.
Yeah. So so that was your first assignment. So then it came time for the the refugees. There was no longer refugees out wandering the galaxy. So the Cassiopeian way station got shut down, and I think Cassiopeia maintained a higher dimensional reality on their system, but it was no longer the way station. Okay. So your role there ended, and you ended up doing some work on Pegasus, which this is my first time really delving into Pegasus. So I don't know a whole lot about it. So I'm going to be learning along with you. So,
okay.
So I think the work that you were doing on Pegasus was helping some of the few random Lyran refugees that ended up in that system to colonize the new system. So the Pegasus people were descendants of Lyran refugees, and for the most part, they maintained their Lyran appearance and their Lyran culture. Except the one change that they did make was they became much more technologically advanced. Now I am seeing that your husband and the husband that you currently have was also a part of this particular mission. He was not in Cassiopeia with you, but because he's more the technology person, he was the perfect partner. With you, I think you were doing a lot of healing work. There was a lot of PTSD amongst these folks. So so your husband was helping them, ramp up their technology. You were helping them heal from some of the traumas that they had experienced, coming from Lyra. Okay. I kind of talk about Lyra a lot, but it makes a big difference. I don't know. There's something there. Lyra is so important because a lot of the current, I think, and we talked about this in the last episode, but a lot of the lessons that we go through over and over again originated from our traumas in Lyra. And so when you were saying that sometimes you work with clients and they break down and cry like a baby, even though they're a man, when they see Lyra, that's how it's like. It's like it's so traumatizing that just to relive it will bring even the strongest person down to their their knees and cry. But so because they experienced all this trauma, you had a lot of healing work to do. Okay, so that's what you were doing in Pegasus. And I don't know much about the Pegasus people. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but there was, I guess, a colony there, and
it's a small colony.
It was a small colony.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah, small colony.
I'm not much into the bustling city.
Yeah, no, you never. Yeah, I don't see where you kind of picked the smaller places because I don't see where you didn't have much dealings with Sirius, which was really bustling, and Pleiades was definitely bustling. Holy cow, that was a lot going on in the Pleiades. And Orion, there's a lot going on there. I
didn't have those
assignments. No.
Those assignments. So did I pick assignments that would be more kind of like
quirky,
the mellow fishing town on the
like the little places.
kind of like okay.
Yeah, it was kind of like the outlier, kind of out of the way kind of places that
Yeah, pretty
uh,
out of the way.
yeah. And see, I
It
was the
sounds like
opposite. I was in the midst of Lyra. I was in the Pleiades. I was in Sirius. I was in Orion. So I took on, like, the bustling big, a lot of stuff was happening kind of places. So no, you pick kind of the little quirky, out of the way, little hubs.
yeah,
Which I think that's just your style. I think
yeah.
that's, yeah, it's your style. So you ended up, I think, after Pegasus, you were like, okay, what's the next assignment? And so there was Andromeda. And Andromeda is a bigger star system, but it's so remote. It's like 2,000 light years from Lyra, okay? And probably at least that far from Arcturus. So you thought, okay, this is remote enough. I think I can handle Andromeda. And you spent a lot of lifetimes in Andromeda. And initially you were there in your Arcturian form, but then I think after a while you started incarnating in Andromedan form. So this is also common for Arcturian starseeds, that a lot of times you'll see overlays of other star systems in our auric field. So we might have that core Arcturian aura, but you'll see overlays of Andromeda or of some other star systems. So
Yeah, I had an interesting lucid dream that was very, very, again, another surreal lucid dream where I was
yeah.
in this huge starship, and
Mm-hmm.
my husband is like this really good looking blue being.
There you
And I
go,
was
Andromedan. Interesting.
I know it's funny when you say that, and I was telling him, because I have recall of my current lifetime with my
Yeah.
husband now, and I said, "Oh, Evan's not going to like this." And he's like, "Who? Remember we're married, we love each other?" I'm like, "Oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay, got to anchor into this one."
Yeah,
So,
gotcha. Okay.
that's interesting that you say that, because I think in another parallel lifetime, I am in one of those Andromedan lifetimes having remembrance of my parallel self in this lifetime.
Oh, that's really
So there's
cool.
some bleed through.
Yeah, no, that happens a lot actually. I often talk about walk-in experiences or souls that do temporary walk-in where they will go into an alternate timeline and
Mm,
temporarily experience something within the soul of sharing the body of a soul of another being, and then they'll step out, once the crisis is past, sort
mm,
of thing. And a lot of times we do remember, when we're in that state, that, oh yeah, I have another lifetime in the third dimensional earth,
mhm, mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, sometimes I remember even thinking like, oh, I'm in this kind of walk-in experience, but you know what, I need to get
Other
back to my
life.
3D life, my other life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so it's interesting you brought that up, because that is really, the case a lot of times.
Yeah,
But
that's what I said in the last interview, that
yeah,
is personal Mandela effects or parallel reality awareness
hmm
a curriculum
oh yeah,
for ancient souls, because I get it myself, and I also get a lot of clients who have these
oh yeah, no, there's a lot.
experiences where they're like, "Oh, I was having this reality, and now, oh, I got to go back to my other reality. So I got to refocus
Oh
myself."
yeah, yeah. I gotta shift gears here,
Mm,
um, and sometimes you're not even in the same body form in the other reality that you're in.
mm,
You might be in a male form, or you might be in, I don't know. I don't know. I had some interesting. Sometimes you might be an African slave, or even a different race, or something. So it's really interesting. And then it's like, oh, I got to go back to that life where I was this person. Um,
right.
yeah. So yeah, the Andromedan. You had a lot of lifetimes in Andromeda. Okay. And I think your husband, who is currently your husband, I think you two both originated from Arcturus, but sometimes you do some missions together and sometimes you do some missions apart.
Mhm.
So when you were doing, I think when you were on Cassiopeia, your husband was in Cygnus, which is another one of those way stations, but it was closer to Lyra. Okay.
Mm.
And I think there was more technical needs in Cygnus, so that's why he was there. And there was more, I think, energetic needs in Cassiopeia, which is why you were there. Okay. And then you two met up again in Andromeda. Okay. And I'm seeing that your husband in that's in this life, that's also in the previous lives, um, he got involved with the Andromedan branch of the Galactic Federation.
Okay.
So when you were saying that you saw him as this tall blue being on board a ship, he was probably a commander, or somebody that was in higher command. Okay. And he probably didn't look much like he looks now, where I don't know what he looks like, but in Andromeda he was very tall and had blue skin.
Yeah, like Prometheus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're very, very tall. They have very lanky body parts. Like their arms and legs are really lanky. Their heads are slightly bigger. Not much, but a little bit. And they otherwise have a human look to them, but
Yeah.
yeah, they look quite. Yeah, they look like human, but
Or another way to see it is in Hindu artwork,
mm-hmm.
like Vishnu and
Oh yeah,
Brahman,
yeah. That
they're all
always
blue.
they're all blue. Yeah,
They're all
blue,
like very tall, very muscular giants, but
blue,
blue.
blue. Yeah. Um, so that's Andromedans. That also describes Vega. So that describes
Yeah.
beings from Vega.
Which makes me wonder, was the ancient blue humans in Hindu artwork and
Oh,
Buddhism artwork, are
absolutely.
they from Andromeda? I mean,
Oh, oh, they were
where did
from
they
Vega, I think.
from
They
Vega?
were Vega.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is
The
a possible
Ayurvedic.
connection there. Hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely connection there. The Vedic, the old Vedic texts, like the Bhagavad Gita and
Mm-hmm.
others, they talk about these blue beings that came out of these massive Vimanas that would visit Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and they were magnificent. They were tall and magnificent looking beings, and they had all this advanced technology. But the ancient peoples of Earth thought, oh, they must be gods, because they have all these abilities.
Right.
So they were talking about Vega beings. So it was.
That's interesting. Yeah, and a lot of Asians have blue hue on their bum when they're born.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, does Akasha Records say anything about that? Is there a connection there?
You mean as far as babies or?
Babies, like a lot of Asian babies will be born with a little bit
Oh,
of blue.
that's the influence from Andromeda.
Oh, is it?
Andromeda has a lot of influence in Southeast Asia
Mm-hmm.
culture and in their genetics. So that's why you see in Southeast Asia, you see a lot of like an undertone of blue, I think,
Mm-hmm.
certain
Mm-hmm.
Asians,
Yeah.
because their genetics originated from Andromeda. So there's definitely a connection there.
Yeah, it's very, very common. A lot of the babies on their bum area, it will
Mm-hmm.
be kind of like a blue hue, but it
Hmm.
eventually goes away. But for the most part, a blue hue is very common,
Oh,
kind of
that's
like a blue undertone.
Yeah, I would say that's the Andromedan influence. It's like
Mhm.
I think a lot of these babies when they come in, they're coming from higher dimensional realms, and they're carrying some of the energy from the higher dimensional realms, and then once they get kind of settled into the 3D realm, it kind of fades away, kind of like you were saying. But yeah, that's the Andromedan influence. And with the Vedic text, that's kind of the Vega influence. They were also tall blue humans. Um, so Ayurvedic medicine, probably Vedic astrology, a lot of the Vedic modalities originated from Vega and Sirius. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So getting back to your story, you had many lifetimes in Andromeda. I do think you were always predominantly on a healer path. Okay. I think that's always been. I think you're very good with technology. I think you worked with technology quite a bit, but I do see you being predominantly on a healer teacher path. Okay. Which is what you're doing here on Earth today. So
I didn't really make a career change. It doesn't sound like I made a career change at all.
No, you didn't. No, I don't think most of us do really. I mean, yeah, I think most of us kind of do what we've always done because we know that, and it's kind of like, well, we got trained in this. I know what I'm doing, and I do get
I
some
kind of like
souls
it.
that
Yeah.
change out. I do get a few souls that are really like parallel souls, or they're just really versatile souls or explorer souls that just do really different things. But no, you kind of have always done the same thing, in a lot of your past lives, even off planet. Now, you did get involved with some massive frequency projects in the Andromeda system where there were certain large crystals that were being used to amplify certain frequencies. And so that's where some of the technical abilities come in. Okay. But you were, so I do think you're very good with technology, but I think it's a kind of a secondary thing for you. So you don't really, it's not something that you're going to go out there and seek to do. Like, unlike your husband, who is like, oh yeah, I love this technical stuff,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Debugging is torture for me.
What's
That's
that?
what
Debugging?
I thought about doing computer programming, but then debugging, I didn't like that part, so I said no.
Yeah, no, I worked in the IT field for a few years, and I mean, it was okay, but after a while, it's kind of like, it's, I don't know, it's like, this is not my path, I don't know. It's like, and I do get some Arcturian starseeds who love technology, and they love to work with it, and they have the patience. I think it takes a lot of patience to work in technologies because there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and you're constantly having to fix, or debug or fix things, and they have the patience to do it. I just don't have the patience. Doesn't sound like you do either. So
Yeah. Well, I have the patience, but I just kind of get it becomes tedious.
yeah, tedious.
It
Yeah.
becomes tedious. I'm like, I need some variety.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no.
What does it say about what does the my Akashic records say anything else about the future timeline?
Oh yeah, let's look at that.
Because you had said in the last episode that there was some time travel
Yeah,
technology
no,
coming in.
I think that might have been some of the technologies you were working with in Andromeda was this time travel technology. So I think that's what the crystals were being used for, was to power these devices that would and enable people to kind of teleport forward and backwards in time. Okay. And I think the way they did it is they transcended the time space continuum. So so I think Einstein talks about the time space continuum, and that time is relative. So I think the way you guys were able to transcend, this linear time limitation was through going into the higher dimensions. So in the higher dimensional you go, the less separation in time there is. So then you're able to do this quantum leap, this quantum jump, between, so it's almost like navigating this certain point in time and just making a jump to it rather than having to go the linear fashion, which would take a long time. So, so it was, kind of using frequency to do these kind of quantum jumps. Yeah.
Right. So just changing the frequency, changing the address. We just changed the
Yeah,
address.
it's kind of changing the address. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
like
when you
you're
change it,
punching in an address, like, okay, I want to be at this particular time in this area, and this, maybe you put in like I don't know, a latitude or longitude.
yeah. Latitude, longitude, dimension, time, all these different factors,
the
and
location,
yeah, and then
the event that you're trying to attend, because you mentioned, musical festivals, which
right. So there's all these different factors for the experience that you want next. You punch that in, and then it just changes the reality around you to match that frequency, and then you were there.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Mm. Do you hear
so
that, people?
yes, yeah, see, yeah. So I do think time travel is definitely possible, and I do think that this is interesting because I recently did a reading for a client who was from the future. And she never had any past lives, and it was funny because she was from future Earth, but then her future life after Earth was in Andromeda.
Mm.
So it's kind of like they almost created this time travel reality or this time travel capabilities in Andromeda. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I think you and your husband were both tasked, as far as your mission here on Earth, to when the timing was right, to bring these technologies to planet Earth, so that and you did mention like some of your clients would sometimes, like, in your some of your more lucid dreams, some of your time travel clients would want to make changes along the way, and it's kind of like maybe making changes isn't such a bad thing, I mean, but you don't want to make too many changes because then you totally disrupt the whole flow of time, so um but yeah, it's kind of interesting because I do think when you created this technology, it was actually in the past, Andromeda. Okay, so it was Andromeda in the past, but you almost had to go, um, I don't know, forward in time in order to be to get to Earth, where Earth was in its ancient times, which is kind of weird, but
You have to go forward in time to go back to the ancient time.
times, yeah, yeah. It's kind of weird. I don't know what I just said.
You go forward in time.
Time in order to go back to. So you must have been in Andromeda future, or maybe, um, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Or maybe it's just a different dimension. But now I'm getting myself confused. But which happens a lot when I do
it
these readings.
it depends on where the cross section
Yeah.
of the
Cross section
sphere, the
is,
cross
yeah.
section is.
So
Sometimes the
yes,
past meets
yeah.
up
So
with
there's,
the
yeah.
present.
So it was kind of, so even though, so I think it seems like, I think you came from Andromeda past, but because Andromeda was so forward in their technology, it seemed like you were coming from the future, but you were actually coming from the past. But so when you came to Earth, it seemed like Earth was a lot more primitive, because it was. But so you almost couldn't even work with the technologies. You had to kind of work initially on expanding consciousness in each of the Earth lives that you've had before, to get Earth to the point where you can implement this technology. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. This sounds like me. I typically would take technology and make it fun.
Yeah,
Like,
make it
oh,
fun.
let's make it a game, make it fun, so that we can have fun within samsara, within creation. This
Oh
not
yeah.
take it so seriously.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
don't take it seriously. Like, let's start over again
Yeah,
or
we'll just
change
do it.
this. Yeah,
We'll just do a little adjustment here and there, and it'll all work out. Yeah. So
yeah, that sounds like me. Yeah.
yeah. So prior lifetimes that you've had on Earth, you didn't have many, I think. I think your husband might have had a few more than you did. He's a little bit more earthy or earthbound. I think he's had incarnations in Sirius and in Orion. So he has, I think, a more practical approach to things than you do. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think the first incarnation was Lemuria. It was in Lemuria. And I'm a Lemurian soul too. Lemuria was actually founded by Andromedans and Arcturians. So it makes sense that
They're highly spiritual.
Yeah, highly spiritual. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it would make sense that, a lot of Andromedan and Arcturian starseeds would choose to incarnate. They have their first incarnation in Lemuria. And you mentioned the race of people in the last session about, I think it was the fifth race of the root race.
Right. The fifth spiritual root race
Yeah.
in Buddhism.
And I think those were the Lemurians. Those were
Mhm.
the ancient Lemurians. Uh, and Lemuria was a fifth dimensional reality, so it did embody Christ consciousness. So it
Mhm.
embodied the aspects of Christ consciousness as we understand it today.
Mhm.
But I think the Lemurians, I don't know, it's kind of like they were kind of like similar to the Lyrans in that
Mhm.
they kind of had blinders on. They just kind of looked at, they didn't have an awareness of the world outside of themselves. So they kind of lived in this beautiful bubble. And then when Atlanteans started attacking them, they didn't know what to do, and that's kind of what the Lyrans went through as well. So you see repeats of history over and over again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then they got wiped out and destroyed. And for you, though, I do think you did frequency work also in Lemuria, but I think you were also a teacher, and you were trying to teach not only spiritual abilities or concepts, but you were also teaching about history.
Mhm.
And you were trying to warn the Lemurians to not be so close-minded on just focusing on love and light all the time. That
Mhm.
they had to learn to integrate some dark aspects, which the
Yeah.
Lemurians didn't do really well. So
Yeah.
now some of your, I think, dream travels that you do were concepts that were being readily used in Lemuria. So in Lemuria, dream time and dream travel was very common. Um, and and these were concepts that were brought, I think, by the Lemurians, I think taught to the Aborigines. And I kind of
Mhm.
think the Aborigines may have been descendants of ancient Lemurians. I really
Yeah.
do believe
Yeah.
that.
No. No. Yeah. Buddhist
And
folklore
yeah,
kind of
the
points
folk
that
that,
as well.
yeah, exactly. So a lot of their work in Dreamtime mirrors, the work that the Lemurians did with Dreamtime, and
Mhm.
that's what you're doing as well. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're trying to implement that kind of, and I see you almost taking that concept. Right now, you're kind of playing around with it with yourself, but
Mhm.
I see you helping people be able to fix old traumatic, like DNA markers, like ancient, DNA signatures that are traumatic through
Mhm.
dream time.
Mhm.
So I do see you incorporating that into your work if you haven't already, but I do see that. And I don't know, maybe you'll write a book about it, or it sounds like you've written a few books already. So
Mhm.
you're working on some really cool ones right now. But um, yeah, that was a very impactful life for you on Earth. A lot of the lifetimes you had were mostly more in the eastern areas of the planet. So I
Like
don't
Asia. When you say
Asia.
Eastern, okay, mostly
Yeah,
Asia.
yeah, east, like,
Yeah.
because I
There's a lot
think,
of good food there.
oh yeah, no kidding. No, I love
There's a,
Asian food.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of good food and a lot of good silk and clothes
Oh yeah,
and
no, I mean they
tropical.
were
I
super
mean,
creative people, I tell you what, and they were
yeah.
advanced. I mean,
Yeah.
I always say that Southeast Asia was heavily influenced by Andromeda, and you see it especially in the clothing. Because whenever I look at Andromedan clothing and I look at Southeast Asia clothes, I see a lot of parallels. I see like,
Yeah.
like wow, they look like, and some of the Andromedans almost looked Asian.
Mm.
They, so I think that those genetics, are prevalent in Southeast Asia, but
Mhm.
um, But yeah,
Eclectic. Is it a kind of eclectic,
eclectic, yeah.
exotic style? Yeah.
Exotic, very exotic, yeah. And that's what I
Yeah.
see in Andromeda. The Andromedans used to like to wear elaborate headdresses.
Oh my
They
goodness.
were-
My flowers here, they get
Your
bigger and
flowers
bigger.
here, yeah. You got your
I
flower thing.
my
Yeah.
daughter keeps trying to get me to wear bigger and bigger stuff because she wants me to look like the moon princess.
Oh, how cute! No, wow. I don't know. Your daughter sounds like she's just precious. She's just a precious soul. But
Thank you.
yeah. But anyway, but yeah, the Andromedans wore very kind of elaborate clothing with a lot of embroidery. And those were styles that actually originated from Lyra, because there was a lot of Lyran refugees that ended up in Andromeda. So you see kind of this carryover of even clothing styles that were brought to us from extraterrestrial races, and
Hmm.
maybe even some of the, and they're kind of very creative in Asia with spices and with different,
Yeah, yeah.
and combining different flavors and things that you don't see like in Europe as much. So
Yeah. Like the Vimanas
yeah.
and the really, really ancient Vedic Hindu temples.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of the ancient temples in Southeast Asia are originally Hindu temples because they all have the
Hmm.
lankas and other characteristics of
Hmm.
like the blue being Vishnu and Brahman and so forth.
Yeah,
But
gotcha.
as they adapted to Buddhism
Hmm.
from um, they kind of adapted the temples to add Buddhism into it as well. But the style is very much the same. If you look at the Vimanas and you look at the ancient um, Vedic Hindu architecture and style
Hmm.
from like the older artwork and text with the blue beings,
Hmm.
um, it it kind of carries throughout Southeast Asia. They are very much the same patterning.
Oh yeah,
So
no.
I really wonder if um, what the Andromeda culture really looks like, because if this is a microcosm, what does the macrocosm look like?
Oh, it's
It's
phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And
yeah,
I mean, when I see Andromeda in the records, I'm just like, oh my gosh,
like
it's
the
like
creativity is off the
creativity.
charts.
Yeah, it's like it's off the charts. And Andromedans, they had floating cities in the sky. They didn't have much gravity on their planets, so that's why they became very tall and lanky. But
Do the floating cities look like temples?
oh yeah, yeah, they
The
sure did.
floating cities are the temples, and then the supposedly the gods and goddesses of the people that live in those floating cities, do they look a lot like those Southeast Asian theater art?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh
You know,
yeah.
that artwork is synonymous in Southeast Asia. All through Buddhist temples in Southeast Asia, they have the flying, floating cities with these very elaborate, beautiful beings
Oh yeah,
that
that's
are
what
decked out
Andromeda.
to the nines.
Oh yeah,
Amazing.
Alex Collier. I mean, I kind of follow him because I think he's the most accurate Andromeda and ET contactee, and he talks a lot about Andromeda. But he talks about how the women of Andromeda were considered to be the most beautiful of the galaxy because they had this really otherworldly look about them,
Mm.
and they usually had they were very kind of lanky. They had long beautiful hair, and they wore beautiful clothing, and then some of them were quite voluptuous, but in the right areas. They were kind of lean, but they had curves in the right area.
Mm. Mm.
But but they talked a lot about the women of Andromeda, and that even though they were really beautiful, they were very strong-willed. I mean,
Yeah. Mm.
they didn't put up with no shit. I mean, they were
That's
just like,
me.
no, that's you. Yeah,
That's
that's totally
me.
you. Yeah, there's like they're not putting
Yeah.
up with anything.
Yeah. I had an
So
interview about saying no to Metatron, and he had a
oh
kid
yeah,
shit, and I said, I don't care.
oh yeah, no, they
It
know
took a
what's
little
up.
bit of kitty gloves and tender love to kind of get me to go, okay, I'll help a little bit. So
Yeah, yeah. But
that's
yeah,
funny.
Andromedan women are like that. They're very what's the word? They're very much attached to their free will and freedom. So
Yeah.
so when they come
And
here
then
to,
like the queen in the chessboard.
oh yeah, they're like the queen in the chessboard. Yeah, they
Yeah.
They do what they want to do. Yeah. And they follow the path, the beat of their own drummer usually. This is kind of their, the personality. So a lot of my Andromedan star seeds usually have a hard time, hooking up with relationships here on Earth because most of the men here aren't as evolved, and they're not going to put up with these, Neanderthals, they're just not going to do it,
Yeah, they have to find their own star seed, right?
Yeah, they had to find another star seed,
And they have to find another star seed.
yeah, so you got to find another star seed or somebody that's at least on the spiritual path, So, but it sounds like you always you had an ongoing contract with your husband, so it was like
So he was going to eventually be a matter of time before we found each other.
Yeah, it was a matter of time.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense because like my previous relationships, the thing was, I always had when I was dating prior to my husband, I always had a very easy time dating, and I had wonderful, nice people to date. Very, very nice men, and
mhm.
Not really many complaints. Very, very nice relationships, but their consciousness level and their acumen, the spiritual acumen, and their understanding of reality, it's like, so when I go light years away, they're like, stay here. I'm like, no, we gotta go there. And so it is like we're talking completely different wavelengths. And so
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you don't want to be with somebody who you feel like you're in a PhD program and they're still trying to figure out how to walk. You kind of go, okay,
Yeah.
we gotta move on.
There's just no, that's what it's called, being unequally yoked. But
yeah, that's another term for it.
Yeah. So
I get that.
Yeah, so and I think Andromedan women just don't have the patience for it. They just can't. They're. I mean, the Pleiadian women will sit there and usually like, okay, I see potential in him. Maybe I should invest my time in him. And
oh no.
And Andromedan women are going, oh hell no. It's like,
take it as it is. As is merchandise.
Yeah. It's either
merchandise.
exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like, you got you're gonna have to either step it up or you gotta walk. You gotta walk because
it's like when you're going shopping at the mall. You have different options. You have the as is merchandise. Of all the things that come with it, and there's some good stuff there. If you're okay with it, then you take it. Otherwise, you move on to the next one that actually fits the bill of what you want. You're like,
exactly.
Okay, work with that one. I get that.
So I think in a way, I really admire Andromedan women, how they are like in relationships, because they really value themselves. And in Andromeda, they really held a lot of value. The men in Andromeda really valued the women so much that they were there was a lot of Andromeda women that held high positions. There was a lot of them that,
but the men they didn't feel like they were kowtowing or stepping down. They were equal to the women.
No, they're equal. No, okay. They weren't like, oh, I'm subservient to the women. It wasn't like that.
It's not like human
they were also
men.
Very strong, but they were strong men, but they respected the women, and that's what we like to see here on Earth, which we don't see yet here on Earth, obviously. But
it'll come. It will come. But that's the very 3D men. Is
very 3D men.
Very 3D men. There you go. There's your definition.
Yeah.
5D men is where it's at.
5D men. Yeah, that's what we're working on. Yeah. The men integrated to the 5D, and then they become like they're well integrated masculine and feminine energies. Oh wow, that makes a sexy man. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think men are sexier when they are not afraid to express their more feminine aspects of themselves. I think it makes them more endearing, or I don't know. I just think
multidimensional. They're multifaceted.
Exactly.
Multifaceted. Not so rigid, not so easily.
Not so stuck in, I'm a man, I gotta do this, or So
I get it.
So anyway, so you had your Lemuria life, and we talked about Andromeda, and like I see mostly Southeast Asian incarnations, and some of them you were in. Sometimes you would be in a male gender. Sometimes you were female gender. So you weren't always female. Okay.
What
I
was I
think
like as a male?
I think you were the same. I think you
Oh
had the
yeah.
same personality.
Okay.
I think I don't know. I had some male incarnations, and I think for the most part I had the same personality, but maybe in a
Mm,
more masculine form. But yeah, I think you were like yourself, but I think um, you had to be male in order to accomplish certain things in your incarnations because you couldn't do it as female in certain
right.
cultures,
Right.
especially in Asian cultures.
Right.
During certain historical periods. So, but yeah, let's see. You're from Laos. I see a Thailand incarnation, Tibet, India,
Mm,
Japan. I see quite a bit in more the Asia corridor.
mm,
Um,
mm,
not so much European, although I do see an Egyptian life for you. I think
mm.
you did have an Egyptian incarnation. I think all of us had Egyptian incarnation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna pick and choose between different phases in Earth's timeline,
Yeah.
you kind of go, oh, okay. Some people only get certain options. Other people are able to get bigger options because they're ready for bigger options. So
I think a lot of that's genetically genetic as well
is it?
because it is because Andromedan genetics are not widespread
Oh, why
throughout
is
Earth
that?
because they didn't get that involved with the Earth Genome Project. The
Oh.
races that got most involved was the Syrians and the Pleiadians. So you see a lot of Syrian and Pleiadian genetics on Earth. You don't see so much Andromedan or Arcturian. So that's why with a lot of and you're both Arcturian and Andromedan. Okay,
Mm,
so for us Andromedans and Arcturians, we kind of had to pick and choose. Like, okay, we had to cherry pick. Like, okay, what family can I incarnate into?
and they're
Because
all going to be in the sub-Asian continent.
yeah, or
Uh,
Arcturians, we had a little bit more choices in Europe, but even then it was very selective.
mm,
But
interesting.
for you, it was kind of like, oh, I have to really pick and choose, and we had to pick families that had physical genetics that came from some physical genetics that came from Arcturus or Andromeda. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because I always talk about this. Our soul has a DNA and it needs to have a physical DNA match with the physical body. So that's why sometimes we would choose like not so great. You were talking about the parent lottery in the last
Yeah.
which I thought was really cute. I like that. I have to remember that. So I think sometimes we have kind of like, well, I don't have much of a choice. I guess I'm gonna have to pick this family, even though the
Make the
parents are,
best of it.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the parents aren't going
That's
to be that great, um,
it
but
could be
I'm a
worse.
Starseed. I'll figure it out along the way, So, um, and then you get to Starseeds that say, "What? Why did I pick this? This is so horrible," and then we're like, "Okay, you picked it. You gotta stand by your choices, So yeah, so you had some interesting lifetimes. I do see. Um, yeah, there were some really interesting ones. Like sometimes you were a Buddhist monk, some you were running an ashram in India. Sometimes you were like a what do they call it, a yogi in India, where you didn't have anything. You were just kind of wandering the streets, being a spiritualist. But
Okay.
yeah, and then you had some incarnations where you were a Tibetan monk in the heights of the Himalayas. And then I also see some incarnations where you did very secular work, like, uh, I don't know, you're kind of like an overlord in, I think it was China or Japan.
Mm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you
A
were
feudal lord.
a feudal lord, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I call it an overlord, but yeah, same thing as a feudal lord. And it
Yeah.
was very secular life. I mean, I think you had a spiritual understanding in that life. I think, you followed your religion, to the best of your ability, but you were kind of sometimes harsh in that life because you had to keep people in line. I mean, it was kind of like, and I think the purpose of that lifetime was maybe for you to understand what a secular human life was like. What it was.
Hmm.
It was maybe having a greater understanding of the human condition. That
Yeah, yeah. I've had past life regression on myself, and I saw that lifetime where my husband and I were Asian feudal lords, and our employees were farm hands.
yeah, yeah.
But and for the we were good to them the, in that life. However, sometimes they get out of hand, and to prevent them from getting hurt or getting in worse trouble, we kind of
Mhm.
had to be kind of
Harsh, yeah, like more.
harsh, be like, no, you
No,
can't go there, because it's as hard as it sounds, um, it will cause even worse damage.
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I see
Yeah,
that.
and I think it's also kind of to understand, the perspective from somebody that's wealthier, and the struggles that they go through, and decisions that they have to make sometimes that, maybe they don't necessarily want to make, but they feel like they have to.
Hmm.
So it's just looking from different perspectives.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm glad that life resonates, because yeah, I do see that. That was something that came through in the records. Trying to see if there's anything else on Earth more recent. Hmm.
How about future Earth?
Yeah, let's talk about future
Let's
Earth.
go future Earth, or
Yes,
parallel future Earth.
parallel future Earth.
Yeah.
So that life, I think you and your husband are choosing to stay on Earth for a couple of more lifetimes.
Let's stay in the
And
5D Earth.
5D Earth, yeah, because
Okay.
um, I think because of the type of project that you want to implement, which I mentioned earlier, which was this time travel,
Time to have a parallel reality.
yeah,
Tourism industry.
industry, you almost have to do it in future Earth, because you can't do it in. I mean, it's just your Earth people in this timeline aren't ready for that yet, but
Oh yeah,
um,
they'll have a heart attack.
it'll be. They have to do a lot more evolution, a lot more. I don't know, a lot of things before they get to that level, but. To the point where they can be a little bit more responsible with it. I don't think right
Right.
now they'll be
Right.
responsible, but
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
one is I'm thinking there's a lifetime that's 500 years from now, and then there's another lifetime that's 3,000 years from now.
Okay, what are those like?
Um, the 500 years from now is um, that one is you're starting to see humans evolve physically as
Hmm.
well. So they're starting to become more crystalline in form. They're
Hmm.
starting to have genetics that are more integrated with alien genetics or extraterrestrial genetics.
So
So
just kind of like mix people up today, they become mixed galactic
mixed
people.
mixed
Yeah.
galactic people. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So
More
and
multicultural, or martial,
very multicultural,
multicultural, multiracial, multi-species,
multi-galactic. Yeah.
multi-galactic. We
Yeah.
just keep on
Multi-galactic.
we just keep
Yeah.
on expanding
Yeah.
our
They keep
concepts.
expanding. Yeah.
We keep expanding our
So
concepts. All right.
so you're going to see integration of Earth genetics with um, different groups like Alpha Centauri
Mm.
and Gray Alien and other genetic groups, and they're going to look a little bit more alien-esque than they look now.
Mm.
They'll still have a human appearance, but maybe the eyes will be slightly bigger, or they have pointier chins or more prominent cheekbones, or
Okay. Interesting.
more alien, more alien looking.
Right. Well, if you look at a Neanderthal and you tell them that they're gonna start looking like us,
Mhm.
we're part alien to a Neanderthal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
So
mean,
it
yeah. You're gonna, yeah, you compare, Cro-Magnon man with, Homo sapiens is like almost two, very different.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to look like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird, but
Mm, I see it.
you're going to see that on Earth, where Earth is going to really become part of the galactic community, and having alien visitors or ET visitors to Earth is going to be really commonplace,
Hmm.
and you're even going to see, these beings. It's going to get to the point where people are going to be proud to say they're from Earth. It's going to be like nowadays, people are like, "Oh, I'm not from Earth. I'm from Pleiades. I'm so proud to be Pleiades."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know how the Starseeds do that, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but 500 years from now, Earth is going to be like the place to be from. It's going to be like, wow, you're from Earth. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really cool. So,
Yeah.
and what I see there, and the Arcturians showed me this too, but they're going to have homes that are integrated into the environment. It's going to be like you don't even realize you're not going to even see the home. It's going to look like you're in a forest, and then you're going to see this structure, and it's going to be like, oh, this is a house, and but it's so well integrated into the environment that it's it's not going to disrupt the environment or anything like that.
Yeah.
All these homes are going to obviously have free energy, powered by free energy devices. They're going to have People are going to be able to grow their own food. There'll be a
So people
lot of
become more
sharing.
self-responsible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're
Well, that's
more
the only way of
sovereign.
government that's really going to work for most of humanity is self-governments.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I
Yeah.
mean, my husband are big believers of
Uh,
self-government.
Yeah, just self-police control and take responsibility and accountability for
But it
yourself.
has to be everybody that does that, not
Everybody
just
does that. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I see
Um,
that.
s- Teleportation will be very common. There won't be roadways or trains or airplanes anymore. There will be some recreational vehicles, because I think a lot of us still think it's fun to kind of tool around in a
Yeah, you want to take
hovercraft.
the cruise every once in a while and kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're going to
see
have
the
to have some
destination.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to have some fun with that. But
Yeah.
most people are going to love the teleportation, because if they want to visit family in the other side of the country, they can just
Mhm.
be boom, there I am. So, or if I
Yeah.
want to go to Costa Rica and be on the beach, boom, there I go. Um, so yeah, so it's going to be just so much more advanced.
Yeah. What about 3,000 years from now? You said that you saw another one where
Yeah, another
trying to
one
do
in
it another
3,000 years from
incarnation.
now. That one is going to be um, Earth is going to look a lot like Andromeda at that point.
Oh, really? We go back to
Yeah,
that style?
yeah, we're going back to the Andromeda style, but Earth
The
is going to
80s
be
are
really,
back again.
yeah, the 80s are back. Yeah, so Andromeda. So I'm seeing more the floating cities in the sky, more very kind of more Jetsons looking. Uh, but it's almost going to be like you're not even going to be able to see the technology, because it's going to be so integrated into everything. So
Yeah.
there's going to be aspects of AI, but it's going to be responsible AI, not
Not
dark,
Terminator.
not Terminator level, but
Yeah. It's a conscious AI.
conscious AI. And I think humans are going to evolve even more,
Oh, really?
yeah, they're going to evolve um, to looking more like maybe like very like more Arcturian looking. And maybe there's going to be some features that Earth humans have now that they won't have then.
Like what?
Like maybe they won't have hair anymore, because they won't need to have hair, or they won't have,
Oh,
yeah,
well, that's gonna be different.
yeah, they'll be really
Ooh,
different.
I
Yeah,
do
they
like
kind
the
of,
hair pieces though.
yeah, I do like, I know, I
It's
like my
it's a
hair
part of the
too.
look.
Yeah, no, it's a part of the look.
What am I
Yeah,
gonna do sticking on my forehead?
I know. You just have to stick it on your head.
It has to be tape. Tape on my
Yeah,
forehead.
you have to, yeah. Um, but yeah, I see more of a streamlined looking humanoid form, but
Kind of
it looks,
androgynous. Would they look like androgynous or?
yeah, a little bit more androgynous, a little bit more streamlined, like Arcturians look. Arcturians look very androgynous. You can't tell who's male or female amongst
That's like
Arcturians.
Buddhist artwork. I study Buddhist art history and artwork
Yeah.
and Vedic art history artwork. And a lot of the Buddhist artwork of their master teachers are very androgynous. You can't tell if it's a man or a woman.
Well, that's how it's going to become. We're going to become much more androgynous in the future.
So get over your issues with transgender or this and
no, that's
that,
going to
or
all be gone.
sex, or
it's going to be interesting. Unfortunately, we are getting close to the end of our time, so we'll have to wrap it up.
Well, this was very, very fun. I love the session that you gave me.
And
and I think everybody is going to love taking your courses when you offer them. So and then they're going to have their fun reading the Galactic Akashic Records of their clients, of their friends, of their family. It's going to be a fun cocktail party activity. It's all about having fun anyways.
I need to train more people to do this, so I don't have to do all the readings myself. Because I do a lot of them. And I need to teach more. I need to be out there teaching and being in the public. So
and then
so that's why that's my motivation, is I want more people to do this so they can have the same kind of fun you and I are having. So
because this is so much fun. I could this is like a great icebreaker at parties and other things. So I really think a lot of people are going to love going to your library of past courses and taking them and learning new skills and being fifth dimensional awareness. Well, everybody, if you want more from Debbie Solaris, go to her website, which is debbiesolaris.com. And she is going to be putting her courses on these type of services that she does with what you just saw with me.
If they subscribe to the site, they'll be informed when the courses come out. I do need to do a closing prayer because we do want to put down your records. So you don't want to leave your records open. That's like,
go ahead.
That's like a Akashic no-no, So I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. Your energy goes with you and my energy stays with me. Vaughn, it was a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. It was fabulous. I enjoyed my session very much. I know the listeners are going to really enjoy it as well. It definitely piques the sci-fi interest and the creative writing and all that. And there's a lot of artists that follow the channel for material. So this is great. So thank you, everyone. Oh, yes, definitely. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another wonderful, enlightening conversation. Until next time, blessings.
Blessings. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Merkaba Chakras, where we talk Buddhism in the fifth dimension. For more information about today's guest, please go to the show description. For more information about Vaughn's metaphysical work, please go to merkabachakras.com. The views expressed today are for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or replace any medical or legal advice. Don't forget to subscribe for more interviews about the fifth dimension. Until we meet again, blessings.